The Life and the Times of Earl G. Graves Sr. Earl G. Graves Sr. was an entrepreneur who fostered success in the African American business community by founding the magazine Black Enterprise and writing the book How to Succeed in Business Without Being White. Mr. Graves created Black Enterprise in 1970 with a $175,000 loan and the backing of advertisers he courted himself. The magazine was designed to appeal to newly ascended African American professionals, to encourage young people to become entrepreneurs in their own right, and to make Black executives a more recognizable part of American corporate culture. Black Enterprise, which features profiles of African American businessmen and women, advice on navigating the corporate world for young professionals, and an annual list of the most successful Black-owned companies, proved popular. "I was just another entrepreneur who believed in himself," Mr. Graves told the Post-Standard of Syracuse, New York, in 2005. "The only difference was that I was Black." Mr. Graves set up a board of powerful African American advisors, including Senator Edward W. Brooke III of Massachusetts, Representative Shirley Chisholm of New York, and Julian Bonds, the civil rights activist and a founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center. To build an audience, he sent free copies of Black Enterprise to Black professionals, ministers, politicians, and many corporations. His son Earl Graves said that the magazine's print circulation peaked at around 500,000 in the early 2000s. Mr. Graves, instantly recognizable in a power suit with suspenders and thick but meticulous sideburns, also ran a successful soft drink franchise with investors including Magic Johnson, and served on several corporate boards, including those of Aetna, American Airlines, and what was then Daimler Chrysler. In 1997, Mr. Graves published How to Succeed in Business Without Being White, Straight Talk on Making it America, which he wrote with Wes Smith. The book, a New York Times bestseller, included concrete lessons on networking, maximizing career opportunities, and building wealth gleaned from Mr. Graves' lifetime of entrepreneurship. It also emphasized that Mr. Graves saw the goal as an equal chance at success rather than special treatment. "The white-dominated business world needs to understand that we don't want charity," he wrote. "He wants to do business. We don't want guaranteed success. We want the opportunity to earn it," he said. Earl Gilbert Graves was born in Brooklyn on January 9, 1935, to Earl Graves, an immigrant from Barbados, and Winifred Seeley Graves, who was from Trinidad. He grew up in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood. His father worked in the garment industry, and his mother was a homemaker. He graduated from Erasmus Hall High School in Brooklyn, then studied business at what is now Morgan State University, a historically Black institution in Baltimore, Maryland, where he sold flowers, mowed lawns, worked as a security guard, and was on the track team. After graduating, he spent some years in the Army, then returned to Brooklyn, where he worked in law enforcement and real estate. He also volunteered with local government and civic groups, including one dedicated to improving Bedford-Stuyvesant that was founded by Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Mr. Graves met Kennedy until he was after organizing a rally for him in Brooklyn in the mid-1960s. Earl Graves Jr. said that Kennedy was so impressed by Mr. Graves' organizational acumen that he offered him a job on his staff, which he accepted. Mr. Graves worked for Kennedy until he was assassinated in 1968, after which he returned to Brooklyn. Someone in the Bedford-Stuyvesant group suggested that he start a newsletter to publicize advances in the Black business community. This newsletter grew into Black Enterprise. In 1960, Mr. Graves married Barbara Kidd, who died in 2012. He has 3 sons, Earl Jr., John, and Michael, 2 sisters, Joan Jones and Sandra Graves, a brother, Robert, and 8 grandchildren. In 2006, Mr. Graves retired as Black Enterprise's chief executive, though he remained chairman until his death. Black Enterprise is still printed periodically. But Earl Graves Jr. said that the company now focuses more on events, social media, and his website, which attracts about 2 million unique visitors a month. And how to succeed in business, Mr. Graves wrote that when he was a student at Morgan State and told acquaintances that he hoped to become a successful businessman, they often reacted with incredulity because the concept of a black businessman with his own corporation was largely a foreign, even a laughable one, to blacks as well as whites at that time. However, times have changed, in part helped by Mr. Graves' efforts, and his alma mater now trains new generations of African-American entrepreneurs at the Earl G. Graves School of Business and Management. Mr. Graves was definitely a trailblazer in black entrepreneurship, and he will greatly be missed.